Joining me now is Randi Weingarten, president of the American Federation of Teachers. Thank you for joining me today. Randy, Gwen Walz, let me go here first. Gwen Walz, the wife of Democratic vice presidential candidate Governor Tim Walz, responded yesterday to what Senator Vance had to say about you. Let's play the clip.
Now, I read that JD Vance said he was really disturbed by teachers who don't have biological children. We do not take kindly to folks like JD Vance telling us when or how to start our families. Mr. Vance, how about you mind your own business?
That's one teacher's take, Ms. Walz. Well, what's your response to what Senator Vance had to say about you, Randy?
So, Rev, you and I know each other a long time, and I'm used to, just like you're used to, people going at us and insulting us because they want to try to disconnect us from the people we serve or the people we represent or what we're trying to do. And so that's what Vance is doing. He's trying to disconnect parents from teachers. And just like Trump, throws out name calling and, bullying tactics, that's what Vance is doing. So I don't really care about myself. I mean, other than the fact that he's actually wrong. And I, have a great family with kids and grandkids and lots of nieces and nephews and great nieces and nephews. But this is what's so venal about it. This is the start of the school year. And when he doubled down on this, he knows it's the start of the school year. He has kids himself. And this is that moment when you need to really reconnect parents and teachers to create the safe, welcoming environment that kids really need to succeed. Mm-hmm. So he is actually doing something really undermining of kids by doing this to teachers all across America. And the second thing I would say is that there are so many people in so many modern families. Why would you dismiss all of them? I thought the Republican Party said that they wanted to have all these parents be part of them. They don't. They just want to smear people. Mm. And the third thing I would say is that there's such pain for people who haven't been able to have kids, haven't been able to have families. You see all those and hear all those IVF stories right now. So think about the cruelty. Think about the undermining of the parent-teacher relationship. It just feels like he's completely out of touch with real people and with what real people need, Democrat, Republican, Independent, in terms of who they want to see as a president or a vice president. So it's shameful, it's disgusting, it's gross. But more, it tells you the character of who he is and who's running for president and vice president in the Republican Party. And
as you say, at this time that schools are beginning to open up, to have this issue even out there is so unhealthy for the students and their parents. Now, Senator Vance has not apologized for his remarks. In fact, he's doubled down, claiming he wasn't targeting you for being childless, though he used your name, but instead accusing you of brainwashing children. What do you make of that claim that you are somehow indoctrinating students, coming from a sitting senator who is right on a major party's presidential ticket?
Well, often so many people have answered this in so many different ways, but often I think that the people who level these charges are people who want to indoctrinate themselves. They don't understand what we do as teachers. We teach critical thinking. We teach context. We teach the kids how to think, not what to think. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to shy away from honest history. So this is the same group of people who ban books, who think or try to justify aspects of slavery, who don't want America to actually learn, warts and all, we can do a better job, that the arc of history can bend towards justice, but we have to deal with the struggling and the striving and do that work. And so it's again, this sense of not either understanding or want to bully and smear and create fear when you need that real engagement between teachers and parents and kids.
Yeah.
The most important thing we can do right now for our children, particularly given all the social media and all the effects of COVID, is that we create an engaging, safe, welcoming environment so that they can soar. What these guys are saying is that they don't want that.
Now, we're out of time, but I must ask you this quickly before we go. Project 2025, the right-wing blueprint for a potential second Trump administration written by the Heritage Foundation, outlines a plan for dismantling the Department of Education. Yesterday, former President Donald Trump headlined an event sponsored by the Heritage Foundation in Washington, the Moms for Liberty Summit. What are your thoughts on the Project 2025 agenda, should it actually come to fruition in a second Trump term?
So let me say this really simply. You know, they use policy words so that they make it inaccessible to people. But what they're trying to do is basically say only rich kids in this country or kids whose parents have power should have opportunity. Everything they're trying to take away from, when they say dismantle the Department of Education, it's taking away, sorry for my alphabet soup, Title I, IDEA, Pell Grants, everything that Johnson and others tried to do to level the playing field, to create that opportunity, they are trying to take away. So they're basically saying tax cut for the rich, take everything else away from middle class or poor kids.